What are you doing?
Yeah.
Should we get in place here? All right. Awesome. Let's do it.
Great.
All right, so we are here today in Baltimore, Maryland. It's been in the news a lot lately because of unrest surrounding the death of Freddie Gray. I am Andrew Davis. I went to Johns Hopkins. I'm a member of Sigma Alpha Epsilon, which is a fraternity that's been in the news as well in relation to a racist chant that surfaced.
Hi guys, I'm Dylan Moses. I'm also an alum of Johns Hopkins, also an alum of SAE here at Johns Hopkins. And I'm here with Andrew today to talk a little bit about race in Baltimore and try to understand some of the complexities of the situation that's going on here today.
Right, so, we're just dissatisfied with the coverage and we wanted to take a chance to come out here and talk, candidly about race using kind of the symbolic nature of the fact that we're both in SAE, we're in Baltimore, we lived here for 4 years, and it's a community that we believe can and hopefully will overcome this problem, unlike maybe others, potentially Ferguson, that have largely been taken down by the issue of race. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Yeah, so I'll let you kind of go off and
Sure.
explain kind of how you feel about this stuff.
Yeah, so definitely I'm here because Andrew invited me to talk more about race, the riots that have happened in Baltimore over the last week, Freddie Gray's death, and just the structural inequality that we see within Baltimore. My real goal being here is really to talk about the fact that rioting really is more of a language of people that have no other means to communicate. Mm-hmm. Like as a collective speech, we're really upset. We're tired of being treated this way, so we will riot.
I think we should dive into that. How do you? Because that might sound shocking to some people.
So my thing is, being one African American, being someone who's interacted in a sense with Baltimore as a city, I can understand sort of how a lot of these people here feel. People are starting to now use the internet and social media so much more than ever before, and they're seeing these acts of police brutality, abuse, right, all over the country, and realizing that this is not just happening to us; it's happening elsewhere. This is messed up. So you have people being, from their point of view, incorrectly judged, harassed on a daily basis. And so what we think of as, or what other people might think of as rational behavior and legitimate behavior is not the same. They don't equate there. And so with people that are the people in these neighborhoods that these things are happening to, they see a system that is not treating them fairly. So why do I play by the same rules that everyone else is playing by? Because those rules are not there to help me.
So this is a community that feels...
This is a community that feels that it's been wronged in a way, and it does not have the voice to articulate that wrong. It can't take that wronged feeling and channel it into positive avenues of change. What happens is this community, unfortunately, lashes out, but it's not in a way that it shouldn't come as a surprise. It shouldn't be that we can't understand it. We should see this as a common sensible thing.
And as a crisis point, right?
Yeah.
And as a point where this is an indication that something is fundamentally wrong and needs to be addressed in our society, right? And in our political institutions, right? And again, this is not an attempt to justify, it's just an attempt to empathize and understand why people are doing what they're doing so that we can work towards a productive solution at some point, right?
I think so.
And I think we also want to talk a little bit just about our different backgrounds, right? And kind of how we've coped with race and understood race in the past.
Sure. Yeah, so my background, like I said, I come from the Bronx, and I lived, for the most part, I want to say kind of a sheltered life. Sheltered in the sense that not that I had everything given to me, but that my mom shielded me from everything that was happening in my community. So I went basically from home to school every day, not really going to parks and things like that, because the parks in my area are not that great. I really basically had friends that I knew at school, and that would really be it. When it got to high school, I went to a school that was pretty much 95% white. Went to that school. I only knew I was introduced to that environment, never a part of it, but I always saw it from a third party perspective.
Yeah.
So you can see the privilege, you can see the way that people behave, and then obviously coming to Johns Hopkins, still being that type of outsider, but again, being the outsider and then being within SAE at the same time, it was kind of that dynamic was definitely different. So I've been introduced to the perspective of seeing things from a lower middle class environment, but also seeing how the other half lives.
From my end, I grew up in Chicago, but I grew up on the north side, which is basically nicknamed the Gold Coast, so it's a nicer area of the city. But the interesting thing also is that my mom worked at Harpo, which they produced the Oprah show, and she worked with all these other very powerful and very driven women of color, men of color, right? And so this very diverse community there, and there are people mostly who had started in the lower rungs of society, my mom actually included, although she's white, and they were able to demonstrate that through hard work, you can achieve a lot. So kind of being raised in that weird bubble, I originally kind of thought that the issues of inequality fueling race were more of an issue of, well, are you willing to kind of put in the time to better your life? Because, and not that people are lazy, but that I had seen my mom work like 20-hour days again and again and again, like a few hours of sleep per night, this crazy experience of like being in a television world, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't think it was necessarily functional. I just thought, if you put that in, you'll get more out, right? And so then, of course, we started talking with each other here at SAE, and, a lot of nights, have a few beers, go out, walk up and down campus, talk about this stuff, and was kind of able to see the validity of other experiences where people, are working hard, but they're not seeing results. And an American system that they've been told, is supposed to be free and supposed to allow for upward mobility is not allowing for that upward mobility. And so I think that was an interesting way for us to build a bridge, again, through SAE, which is an organization associated at this point a little bit with racism, and through Baltimore, which is now a city associated with racism.
No, I mean, I think that's fair, and I think your point about being able to, I don't want to keep using this word over and over again, but the bubble,
Right.
it's something that at least I noticed here at Hopkins, students have that so much more than I've seen anywhere else.
I mean, I gotta ask. I mean, this is something that people ask all the time. But have you ever been kind of sketchily pulled over before when you've been doing nothing wrong? Because I don't think I've ever actually been in a situation where I've been pulled over and haven't been speeding or doing something that warranted me being pulled over.
I was 16 years old, and my mom had sent me to the grocery store to get her like some candy or something like that. It was January. It's kind of cold outside, so I didn't have a shirt on. I just had jeans. I just put my North Face on and went outside. I walk outside, and as soon as I get outside, there's a patrol car just going by. The patrol car stops. A white police officer comes outside. He says, "Hey, I need you to stand up against the wall." And I'm like, "Okay." In my life, like that was the first time I've ever been pulled over by a police officer or stopped. And
so as soon as you got pulled over, you're on the wall. You're up against the wall.
I was told to get on the wall. I just got on the wall. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything about it. He said, "I need you to spread your legs." He started frisking me. He said, "I need you to take your jacket off. It's cold outside," but I took the coat off. So I didn't have a shirt on. I had no shirt on. I take my North Face off and put it on the ground, and he's frisking me. Like, I have nothing on. He's just like patting me up and down and says, "Hey, oh, I'm sorry. Well, like we had some recent car thefts in the area, and we were just making sure that everything was okay." And so he left, and I put my coat back on and went upstairs, and I didn't get my mom the candy from the store. That was it.
That's crazy. I mean, I can offer a weird counter story. So also, I think I would have been about 16 years old, maybe 15 at the time. I'm hanging out with some friends in downtown Chicago in like an area of the city that's a little bit like, not dangerous, but just not yet gentrified, let's say. Let's put it that way. Sure. So it was kind of like a little grungy, but, not a dangerous area at all. And one of my friends' dads owns a warehouse down there, and so we're trying to go in there because we're 15 years old and like we don't want to get into some trouble. And like jiggling the door, and he's allowed to be there. It's not like we're sneaking in or anything. The neighbors call the cops because there's a house across the street from this warehouse. Cops come and they're like, "Oh guys, like how's it going tonight? What's up?" And like, "What are you doing?" And we're like standing there, and we have like bottles of soda.
Yeah.
At that point, bottles of soda, and they're like, "Are those beers?" And we're like, no. And they're like, "Oh, okay, it sounds like you guys are cool. All right, well, why don't you just hang here with us, and like we'll wait till his dad comes down and just says you can be here, and then you can be on your way." And his dad came down, and then we went inside the warehouse, and no one ever bothered us again. So it's like, it's just an interesting dichotomy, not to play in again to like the biases, but just it's I think fitting and potentially telling that these were our two different experiences with police officers.
If I can be candid, actually, we had another experience here at SAE. After a rush meeting, there was a group of like maybe 5 or 6 African Americans that tried to break into the house. And so we did the proper thing, calling the student authority,
student security,
the hop cops,
and the
police, and they came and brought the men out of the house. And I'm in the house.
Or brought the students. They were also students, right? To be fair.
They were students from another school. And I'm in the house with the rest of the brothers, and I'm wearing khakis and a nice blue polo. And as they're escorting as the police officers are escorting all the other students that tried to break into the house out of the house, one hop cop pulls me out the house also, as if I'm a part of the group of students that need to be exercise from
And then
this
somebody
house.
would be like, no, 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 no.
And then
He
someone grabbed
goes
me.
over here. He's with us.
He's with us. And the guy was like, oh, sorry. Oh, sorry about that. So another little tiny candid story.
And
about...
not to say, we're not trying to, again, like be overly aggressive, but these are just...
Cool.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else we can, just really quick, that we can... Oh! So at the great request of Jake back here, he is our production assistant, producer, and all else, cameraman. No, we want to talk a little bit about, like, millennials and race, right? Because we are branded, I think, by ourselves a lot of times as post-racial, right? And that we feel that, well, Dylan and I are friends, so how can we be racist, right?
Right.
And I think kind of like, I grew up under the notion that, maybe there were some kind of legacies of race, but that they were kind of on the out. But is that really true? And are these deaths showing that maybe there's a more resilient form of racism that isn't being addressed and is growing rather than fading away?
I don't think it's growing. What I think is happening is that it's being exposed, and at the same time as it's being exposed, there's a steadfastness to not change. A couple of friends of mine will post things like the same stats from CNN about how the murder rate of cops on white people is way more than it is on blacks. So it's not a race thing, like how or actually all lives matter instead of just Black lives matter. Things like that.
Well, it does concern everyone. Police brutality concerns everybody, and like, aggressive ticketing and problems with government power, but it's magnified by race as well, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So like, to disregard the racial side of it is problematic.
To disregard the racial side of it just denies that incidents like this actually matter.
Right.
And I think racism is important to talk about for millennials because we failed to come to terms with the fact that we have a race issue. We have an issue not just with race, we also have an issue with class. And what's happened over the years, unfortunately, is they've merged into the two have merged into Black, poor, disenfranchised economic class in America,
right? Especially
in Baltimore. And what we're finding out more now is that people are sick and tired of not being included and not having a voice in society, and the onus is falling on us to come up with a plan to make sure that everyone's included.
So what are like 3 things that you think people can do?
Learn to be empathetic. Start going out into your community, having conversations with other people, talking to people about how they feel about a particular situation, how you feel about race, how do you feel about what that guy said to you or how that guy interacted with you yesterday, or things like that. Third thing, be more active politically. Start talking to your political representatives, the people that you elect every single year. Make sure that they know that you're a stakeholder in their elections.
I think the conversations and the political action are really important. I think also what's really important for me is that you can see tangible results on this being alleviated today or tomorrow. And so I think mimicking kind of what people did when they went out and cleaned up after the riots in Baltimore, it's important that if you care about this, take tangible steps, easy steps in your own life to start alleviating some of the inequality problems that fuel this race issue in the United States. So go mentor a kid if you have a special skill in math or English, right? You mentor a kid, at a school that's failing. Help them build up the ability they need to get out of poverty, right? Serve food at a food bank, make an extra meal every week, or something like that. Or also go help people get legal representation or help people deal with the authorities. Just look for a chance to help when you can, because it will come up, and you'll have a choice to either walk away or to do something. And who knows? Maybe you'll end up doing something and it'll really help someone, and you'll be part of this very, this large set of very small actions that can hopefully make a big change, right? If that makes any sense.